news.
What?
I just heard, Scott, you are in fact opening a Cracker Barrel in LA.
I am?
Oh
Scott's
my gosh.
Astrology Cracker Barrel.
Oh,
Cracker Barrel and Astrology.
you know what? I think we're onto something.
Yeah, I'll just be
Instead of,
doing readings at the truck stop. All the
well, they have the rocking chairs out front, so you could
okay.
just sit in a rocking chair
There you go.
and have one empty next to you,
Yeah.
and let somebody sit down and get a reading, and then go inside, go shopping at the old country store,
Yeah.
go into the restaurant and eat. If people are like, what the hell are you talking about? You missed last week's episode, which there were some like big bomb drops in that episode. We talked about Cracker Barrel and how Scott had never been to one,
Yeah.
which is like a whole other level of like, what?
I'd never even heard of one before. Not only had I not been to one, I'd never even heard of one before. And I was like, Cracker Barrel, what is that? I've never even heard of that.
We still love you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then I think, I mean, you had like major life news last week.
Yeah.
Which
totally.
was?
We're having twins.
Not
Gabriella's
we.
pregnant. Not us, Dallisa. Sorry. Gabriella, my partner, is pregnant with twins. They're mine. The Tejerian twins are en route sometime around Scorpio Libra season. So, yeah.
It's
Very
so
exciting.
amazing.
Yes. Yeah. And they're looking good. Did the ultrasound, and they said, did another ultrasound, and they said that they look, they're good size, they're long and strong, and
That's
they
not
have,
what, yeah. You
yeah,
want them long and strong.
yes.
You and I were talking about we usually like to start the show. We've started doing this recently where it's like life in 30 seconds and kind of what a couple of our updates are. And you and I were backstage talking about that.
Yeah.
And you brought up different signs, zodiac signs, having different experiences giving birth. And so I thought that would be interesting for you to share that about what you've learned about different signs. And then in the chat, let us know, or if you're watching the replay, drop it in the comments.
Yes.
If any of this sounds familiar or you can relate to. So what have you learned about women giving birth and their zodiac signs?
Well, okay. So I don't want to, mislead anyone here. Like the whole story goes was like, this was kind of earlier on in my just being super into astrology. And I was at a party one time for a friend's birthday. And I was kind of like listening in to about four women talk about other women in their lives who had been pregnant and, their birth experience. These weren't the women who were there. They were like siblings of the women who I was listening to. And one of them was like, oh yeah, my one sister, two of my sisters had, a really, really hard time during the birthing process. And this other person was like, yeah, my sister was like really easy. And just instinctually, I said, like the women who, like your sisters who had a hard time giving birth, are they Virgo or Scorpio? And she was like, yeah, one's a Virgo, the other one's a Scorpio. And the other person, I was like, and your sister who gave birth and is easy, is she a Cancer? And she's like, yeah, she's a Cancer. Like, how do you know that? And I was like, it's just a lucky guess maybe, but I just think in terms of, the symbol of the signs, and like Virgo is the virgin, and like the virgin is not supposed to be pregnant, have babies. So that would seem, like it might be hard for them to give birth. And Scorpio is the scorpion. The scorpion is the smallest symbol. And so it'd be, thinking that'd be hard to give birth there. And then Cancer, you would think that would be easy because Cancer is ruled by the moon, and the moon's the mother. So it's kind of that natural frequency. And I have a cousin who's not a Cancer, but she's a Cancer rising. And like she gave birth to 3 children. And the first one, I remember like everyone in my family was like, can you believe how easy that birth was for her? Like, that's just not even fair. Like, she gave birth in like 10 minutes. Like, I was in labor for 12 hours, and she just like went to the hospital, and like as soon as it happened, it was just like the baby was there. Just, it was easy. So I'm curious to hear from anyone in the chat, like if you have kids, was it easy? And if it was, what's the primal triad? If it was hard, what's the primal triad? I'm curious to know. So Scorpio, someone says Scorpio was easy. So Pam, like, what is your moon and rising sign? I'm curious to know what your moon and rising sign is, Pam. And then Michelle says, yes, I'm a Scorpio. I don't know. Like, so you have a child, Michelle. Was the birth easy? And if so, what is the moon and rising sign? Thank you to everyone who's congratulating me. I'm a Leo, and all 4 of my children were born on Friday, and all were early. Okay, Sandra, were they easy births? Were they challenging births? What's your primal triad? I had 4 babies, no drugs, and I'm a Libra. That's Hope. Yeah, Hope. What's up, Hope? Good to see you here. And I know Hope's triad. Where is that here? Let me see. What is Hope's triad is, if you don't mind me sharing, Hope. Let's see. Hope is
Oh, she
a...
already put it in the chat.
Oh,
Libra
she did?
sun, Aries moon, Aquarius rising.
Yeah, Aquarius rising. Yeah. I mean, I could see Libra being... I don't know. Yeah, Libra, it's a very feminine sign. So I could see that being easy to give birth as a Libra. Scorpio, 23 hours, dry birth, excruciating for
Whew.
Christina. Yeah. Yeah.
So I
So,
wonder if it's their chart paired with their kids' chart, that maybe that lends to it being easier or harder.
yeah, I think it might, it's like I think of my own mom, like she was in labor for an extremely long time, and then ended up having a C-section. She's a Scorpio moon. And, so I think that had something to do with it. But me being a Scorpio and my mom an Aquarius, and my mom gave birth, like, my sun squares my mom's sun. So I always tell people, when the sun is squaring your sun, those are tough days. Take it easy on yourself, slow down, but so my mom gave... the planets were in a very difficult alignment when my mom gave birth, and her birth to me was very difficult, and now she's gotten to experience what that's like in physical form for the last 49 years. So that's the thing, like, where the planets were aligned when you gave birth is now what you get to live with for the rest of your life. So yeah.
Yeah, I saw a
Yeah.
comment earlier, or a question. Somebody had asked how long it took you to pull up your baby's charts or potential charts.
Oh yeah.
Once you found out, with multiples, the due date can change.
Yeah, totally. Well,
But how long did it take you?
I mean, I was pulling that up when we first attempted to conceive. Like this wasn't an accident. It was like the twins is a surprise, but Gabrielle and I talked about it, and she said she was ready, and I'm like, okay, well, let's look at where the planets are in 9 months. And I looked, and I was like, okay, it looks pretty good. It's Scorpio. I think that would be good for both of us. Or maybe it's Libra. And that's still good for both of us. So, I was already looking before we even knew she was pregnant. And then since she's been pregnant, of course I looked, but then when I found out she was having twins, it's like, I don't know. I'm just gonna let it all happen. I'm gonna follow my own, guidance that I tell everybody to, like, and from now until July of 2026, when the North Node finally transits uh into into Aquarius, now's the time to let go and let God, to release control. It's like we were talking about last week with Mars conjunct the South Node in Virgo. So, I'm trying to control everything, where it's like, well, I got to look and see where the planets are. And I did look, but now I'm done obsessing about it.
Yeah, let
Yeah.
it go.
Yeah,
There is
exactly.
nothing
Nothing
about
I can
that
do
that is
about it now, but going into it when we were conceiving, I was like, okay, let's make sure that things look good. And so, yeah.
well, you gave it the best roll of dice you could, so we'll see
Yeah.
what happens.
And it, yeah, exactly. And it looks like the dice have landed in my way, because the children are due to arrive when we intended for them to arrive. So we'll see exactly when that happens. But yeah.
So fun.
Yes.
With the chat's lighting up, and with birth stories and signs and everything. So
Mhm.
thanks everybody that's been weighing in. My life in 30 seconds is not as I don't know, as big, as monumental as your story, but no, just a couple things that are going to be fun for me this week. And I felt like sharing them in case it inspires anyone else to do the same. So I have family visiting later this week. I'm so excited. And we're going to go to a water park and a theme park. They're connected to each other. And I want to share that because I think the more we have fun, the it like raises our frequency. It shifts it so much that then we attract more things at that higher frequency. So maybe ask yourself, what am I doing this week that is going to be fun? And if you don't have anything, come up with something. And then the other thing I'm doing is tomorrow night, I am going to an encore in the movie theater of one of the operas that the Met in New York puts on. And I've talked about these operas before, but during the summer when it's their off season, they do encore performances of different operas over the years. And so I'm doing that tomorrow night, and I'm so excited. It's an opera I haven't seen before, and don't ask me to name it. It's like a 3 hour plus an intermission. So you're reading subtitles the whole time. But I've really enjoyed going to those performances. And so I'm going to go
What
do
does
that.
that what
Yeah,
does
go
that
ahead.
mean? It's an encore. Like you're just getting like the last part of the show?
No, they performed it, I want to say 5, 7 years ago. I can't remember the
Uh-huh.
exact year they did it. So it's the full opera,
Okay.
but it's just a repeat. So they've
Right.
already done it. So it's a past performance. Now,
So
when
it's not on Broadway anymore, and now they're kind of touring around.
Yeah. So the summer season, or they don't have a summer season. So there might be miscellaneous shows happening at the Metropolitan, the Met in New York City. But actually, starting later this year, they'll have their 2025, 2026 season. So
Hmm.
those will be all the live performances. And so when those shows start happening, what's really cool is usually they're on a Saturday. You go to the movie theater and you are watching the opera live as it's happening in New York. And
Hmm.
it's just like you're sitting there, you've got this up close, live stream of the opera. And then during intermission, they start interviewing different actors and actresses as they come off the stage. So you're like behind the scenes of this live opera. So I actually think it might even be better than going in person
So
and
you're
seeing it.
seeing it on a screen, and
Yes,
then
in the
you're
movie
getting
theater.
all the backstage in the movie theater, but you're getting all the backstage intel, Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
They're so fun. And opera's either something you probably really enjoy or you hate. It can
Hmm.
be very polarizing. All the operas I've ever seen are in different languages,
Yeah.
and some are comedic, but most of them have some kind of tragedy attached to them.
Hmm.
But if you enjoy music and costumes and reading subtitles, then you might really enjoy it. But It's called Live in HD at the
Mm,
Met. And so if you just
okay.
Google the Met Live in HD, it'll pull up upcoming performances because there's
Hmm.
more this summer. You can go watch in the movie theater from a previous season. So
Cool.
yeah, I know that's my fun. That's what I do when I'm not working.
I love it. Awesome.
Yes.
Then go to the water park and theme park with your family,
Yeah, I
which is
feel
very
like,
summertime,
yeah.
and like you mentioned fun, and that's what Leo's all about. It's about having fun.
Yeah. Are
So
we
this is the time.
officially in
Yeah,
Leo
we're
season
in
as of
Leo's.
today?
The sun transited into Leo today. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Leo
Yes.
season always feels very bright and sunny to me.
Yes.
Hmm.
Mm,
Yeah, it's a good time. There's a couple things astrologically that are happening that I thought we could chat about.
yeah.
We have a new moon this week, speaking of
Exactly.
Leo season,
Yes.
early degree of Leo.
Huh?
Yeah, what do you think that brings? Because I usually correlate a new moon with manifesting and getting clear about what you want to pull forward and magnetize into your life. It's got a Leo frequency to it,
Yeah.
which is we've talked about before, very heart centered,
Yes. Yes.
courageous.
Yes.
So for me, I would ask myself, like, what's a question or something that I want to bring forward in my life that's going to require some bravery, but that I'm
Hmm.
going to call it forward and manifest it. So what do you take from a new moon in Leo?
Well, I mean, on the surface, the new moon in Leo is everything that you said. It's about heart opening. And when you think of the heart, it's about, when you're having fun, when you are feeling joyous, your heart is open. And, you think of Leo as the sign of children. It's playfulness, it's laughter, it's creativity. So that's what the new moon in Leo generally is all about. But this new moon in Leo is very special. And to anyone who's subscribed to my email list or my Substack or listens to my podcast, I talked about this. I wrote a piece about this, about how the sun, the new moon in Leo, is aligning with what we've been talking about for weeks and weeks or months. uh, Saturn and Neptune in Aries. It's aligning with Pluto in Aquarius, and it's aligning with Uranus in Gemini. So, over the last 250 years, aside from this one new moon, I was able to find three other periods where this happened three times each. It was 1773 and 74. It happened during three new moons where the new moon aligned with Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto, though they weren't in the same signs that they're in now. It happened three times between 1773 and 74. 1819 and 20, 1819 and 1820, and 1966 and 67. And those were all periods that were ripe with various forms of revolution. Where obviously, 1773, 74 is like the new moon. The first new moon that this happened in 1773 was November, and by December, uh, the Boston Tea Party had happened, and so by January, it was in March when the last new moon happened that aligned with those four planets. They were in the midst of a revolution in the 18, 19, 18, 1820. There was revolutions occurring in South America and in Europe. And 1966-67 was, the civil rights movement. Literally on the day of one of the new moons, I think it was November 1966, was the Sunset Strip riots, which happened here in Hollywood. And, actors like Jack Nicholson and Henry Fonda, or not Henry Fonda, but Peter Fonda, the son, were a part of it. They were protesting the curfew that had been imposed upon them, and so a lot of shifts, just like when you think of musically what happened between 1965. That's what 1965 was, when uh, the Beatles, they came out with the song Help, and the Rolling Stones were famous for Satisfaction. By the time you got to 1968, those bands had evolved greatly. The Beatles were putting out Hey Jude, which is a very different song than Help. And the Rolling Stones were putting out Sympathy for the Devil, which is a very different song from Satisfaction. So in this new moon, we want to ask, like, what is the revolution that's occurring within our hearts? How do we fit in to society, into the group, in a way that is true to us? It's about facing fears and insecurities, and having the courage to love ourselves for what is fun for me. Like, not everyone's gonna look and say, like, oh yeah, like, watch. I wouldn't go to an opera if it was on the stage, let alone like watching people on a stage on a movie screen, but, and I'm not saying that for me, but I'm just saying, like, some people would say that, but that's okay. And it's okay for you to enjoy what you want to enjoy. It's about being willing to enjoy what is radically different, to be open to new experiences, and to be open to how those experiences are influencing or affecting your heart. Are you feeling pressured? Is your heart closing, or is your heart opening? Does it feel good? Is it fun?
Yeah, fun. Underlining the word fun for this week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The energy feels bright this week. Um, Clairvoyantly, as you were sharing that, which I love how you put that and gave us
Mm.
the historical examples, I was being shown almost like walking up a hill. Think of it as like a meadow, and the sun is out and the flowers are blooming, and I really felt like uplifted as you were talking about it.
Mm.
And they just showed this hill going up the hill, but then underneath it was like a cesspool. So I still think there's going to be a lot unfolding with these. I mean, we have massive news headlines we have to go through today,
Mhm.
like always. But just spirit showing that separation still, of like, you can be on that higher frequency, you can find the fun
Mhm.
and embrace the sunshine, or you can go like underneath the hill into some kind of cave and like underground sewer system. So it's your choice.
Well, think about the sun, right? What's the antithesis of the sun? The black hole. That's what happens to the sun. It like sucks the energy out of everything around it. So when it turns into the black hole. So, that's the other side of the coin here. And just because it's Leo, and it's like, I was meeting with a client earlier today, and they're like, is there something wrong with me? Like, I never have fun during Leo season. I'm like, you're a Scorpio. Of course it's not. There's nothing wrong with you. Like, Leo season is difficult for people with planets in Scorpio. Like, the Scorpion is not attuned to be dragged out into the light, like, hey everyone, look at me, like, yeah. Like, it's not natural for, the Scorpios. So it's okay if you're not vibing with the frequency that's out there, and you feel like there's something wrong with you because everybody else is out there dancing in the streets and like saying, like, look at how great I am. And it's okay. Like, that's part of the Pluto opposition to the new moon, is saying, and Pluto is the planetary ruler of Scorpio, is saying, you do you. Whatever fun means to you is what fun means to you. Some people it's the water park. Other people, it's like just sitting at home and just relaxing on the couch or not doing anything. That's fun for me. And is there something wrong with me because of that? No, there's
Mm-mm.
not.
No, I brought the chart of the moment up on the screen because
Mm.
the other thing I wanted to point out is that the sun is going to do a direct opposition to Pluto. So if somebody's looking at this chart and you don't know how to read it, that's okay. But if you think about it like a clock face, at about 5 o'clock, you've got a circle with a dot in the middle of it, that's the sun at 0 degrees of Leo.
Mhm.
And then directly across, there's a red line that goes through the middle of the chart and goes across to about 11 o'clock. And that's going to be the P, which is Pluto. So you think about the sun opposite Pluto, that feels, the word spirit's using is enlightening, but sometimes they're very sarcastic. But the sun being vitality, Pluto being can signal some kind of transformation or death. It could be why, that symbolism of like there's that higher frequency, but then there's a lot of other things stewing underneath
Mm.
it. So, what do you think about Sun opposing Pluto?
So, this is taming the lion. It's toning the lion down. And this is something that we're going to experience over the next 20 years. This is just maybe the second time that this has happened. I have to go and look. It's the second time it's happened recently, but it's going to happen another 20 times or so. And this is a part of the new moon. The new moon is opposing Pluto. And when you think about the opposite, when Pluto was moving through Leo, it was invigorating that frequency of the lion. And between 1937 and 1957 is when Pluto transited through Leo. That was the beginning of celebrity. It
Ah,
was it was when Elvis and Marilyn Monroe became popular. They're the pinnacle of fame and celebrity. Is Elvis the king and Marilyn Monroe the bombshell, uh, and all of these people who were born during this period, they went with this celebrity vibe. This is why we've had so many presidents that were born with Pluto and Leo. They don't want to give up the throne. This is why you have so many like musical people, like the Rolling Stones are still touring. Paul McCartney's still touring. It doesn't matter that they're in their late 70s or in their 80s or however old they are still doing it. It's like Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, still acting. They're having kids in their 80s. Like, anyone that thinks like, "Oh, Scott, you're going to be 50 and a father." I'm like, yeah, Al Pacino and Robert De Niro had kids in their 80s. But they're born with that Leo frequency, and it's about playfulness and fun. And with Pluto transiting through Aquarius, it's taming the lion. It's going to turn things around. Like celebrity, I don't think is going to be what it was. And kind of pumping your chest out and really embracing that spotlight is not going to be as favorable as it was previously. So you really have to think about, how is my illumination impacting or affecting the group? Uh, is it supporting the group, or is it taking away from the group? And if it's taking away, there's going to be challenges.
because Aquarius is the group.
Yes, Leo is about me, and Aquarius is about we. It's me versus we.
Okay.
The Leo is the king, the kingdom. The lion is the king of the jungle. Uh, but Aquarius is actually the kingdom. The lion is the king, Leo is the king, but Aquarius is the kingdom. It's the village. So Pluto is the most willful planet. It's the planet that won't go away. It doesn't matter that they say it's not a planet anymore. It's still there. And so, Pluto's like, we don't care about your celebrity. What does that have to do with the collective? What does that have to do with the village? What are you contributing to the group?
Okay. Good to know.
Yes.
Yeah. It's giving us a lot to think about. So when you're doing your new moon manifestations this week, you might want to sit and ask yourself that question of,
Yes.
is this what I desire, what I'm pulling into my life, what I'd like to see happen? Is that going to help others in any way? Or is it just for me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good stuff. Keep the chat going. We love this. Keep telling us all the things that you're thinking about as Scott's sharing the astrology information. We have a ton of headlines to get to. So I feel like we should start. Because one of the things I really want to make sure that we get to is about looking at the charts of the two celebrities, speaking of which,
Mm.
that passed this week. So let's pull up our headlines. These are the two that passed away.
Yeah.
So Malcolm Jamal Warner was
Mm.
54 years old, and he was Theo on the Cosby Show. I grew up with the Cosby Show, so
Yes.
he died unexpectedly from an accidental drowning in Costa Rica. And then today announced that Ozzy Osbourne, 76, right after he got done doing his farewell show, I think, which was a couple of weeks ago, he's gone. It reminds me of I saw Tom Petty in
Mm.
concert in Seattle several years ago. And that was like one of his last shows. He died like several days later. So
Wow.
it's
Wow.
eerie seeing a performer like that, up on stage and then they're just gone.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure
Mm.
that there's a lot of shock over these two.
Yes.
And you said that you had Malcolm Jamal Warner's chart.
Yep.
What do you see in that chart, or if there is anything that might give an indication that there could be something like this catastrophic that would have happened?
Wow. So that happened. He died 2 days ago, on the 20th. And, of course, excuse me, everything is always, just speculation here. But, it's interesting that the sun, he drowned. And so the sun was transiting through Cancer, and Cancer is a water sign. It was aligning with his Neptune,
Oh,
which is the god of the sea, and it was also aligning with his Pluto, the god of death. And so there's that. Um, that's the first thing that really jumped out to me. Um, Trying to think what else was there. Uranus was squaring his north node, which interestingly enough was in Pisces when he was born, which was really, to be completely honest, kind of confusing to me. It's like, wait, like Pisces rules the ocean and the sea, and like, is wouldn't it be like your soul's purpose to be swimming in the ocean and have that experience? He was traveling, it was in a foreign country. His north node is in the ninth house, which is associated with the ninth sign, which is Sagittarius, which represents long distance travel, foreign cultures. So it seemed like, swimming in the ocean in a foreign country, that seems, just like on the surface, generally speaking, like a part of his soul's purpose. But
mm,
we don't know what was going on internally. Maybe he was leaning too much into uh the south node, needing to be in control of everything, or not trusting his own inner voice and what it was telling to him, what it was saying to him, the inner voice coming from the higher power, from God. So Uranus was squaring that point. Maybe that had something to do with it. I don't really know. It's hard to know unless I really know like what was going on with the individual, and then it's easier to see. Now there's another interesting indicator, which was Jupiter transiting through Cancer was squaring his Chiron. His Chiron is at 9 degrees in Aries. Jupiter was transiting at 9 degrees in Cancer. So expanding his wound to self-confidence, and his legacy, his goals, his ambitions, and what that meant in terms of family and what he was experiencing unconsciously in the depths of his psyche. So, how's that feel to you, Dallisa? What are you thinking about that?
Yeah, it feels outside of his control.
Hmm.
And so I think that that theme of control, and am I listening to my inner guidance? I don't know anything about his travels or where he swam before. Um, but what I'm hearing from spirit is it's a good reminder to all of us that even if we feel comfortable in a situation we've done before, there is danger that potentially could be there.
Hmm.
And to proceed with caution. The feeling I'm getting is like remembering that we're not invisible. Um, because it does feel very natural for him in the water, but it's just like, it just feels like in an instant gone. And I know that he got caught in a rip current.
Yes.
And so that energy makes sense. But I think right before that, he feels very peaceful.
Hmm.
So it's, oh, okay.
Hmm.
Well, what I'm being shown is him being underwater, but leaving the physical body quite quickly. Um, so it feels like his soul came out of his body fast, which is
Hmm.
what anyone would hope in a situation like that. So
Hmm.
that to me would signal that there was peace with his passing, and that he knew that he would, like, in that moment he knew, and so he just left the body. So I don't get the sense that he suffered,
Hmm.
thank God, with that kind of condition. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And if there's one place where you are easily reminded that you don't have control, it's the ocean. But per his primal triad, or with I mean, yeah, the primal triad with, he was a Leo sun, a Pisces moon, and a Cancer rising, and so it's like Leo sun like loves the sun, loves being outside, and then Pisces moon, the ocean, Cancer rising, the beach. It seems like that's being by the beach or the ocean was um so sad. Yeah, he has a young daughter. She's only like 8 years old, 7 years old. Um, she was born in 2017. So,
Mm.
um, really, really sad. My heart breaks for him. And, like you, I mean, he was a big part of my childhood upbringing, Theo Huxtable. Um, yeah, just, it's really sad. So, yeah, it's
Whew.
confusing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish I could, give more clarity, but I don't really know, what was going on in his life, and so it's all speculation.
Yeah.
And even if
Yeah.
I did know what was going on in his life, it'd be speculation. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's confusing because you think Pisces moon and Cancer rising, it's like, yeah, in the water, it's a good
Mm.
place, or to be by the water. So, with Ozzy, uh,
Yeah. You said
yeah,
that his chart, that the time of birth
it's in
wasn't like a grade
dispute.
A. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
in dispute. Yeah. Some people say he's a Capricorn rising. Some say that he's a Scorpio rising.
Oh,
My guess would he seems more Capricorn than Scorpio to me. Um, but
why?
I don't know. He just has that earthiness to him. I mean, he's also a Capricorn moon.
Hmm.
So Capricorn's in there either way. Um, so if he was a Scorpio rising, I hit this. I also like the sound of his voice is very Aquarian to me. So, and if he's a Capricorn rising, he's an 11th house sun, which is Aquarius. If he was a Scorpio rising, that would be what would that be? A first house sun, which I don't know if I see that Aries in him as much as Aquarius. But, so regardless, like just looking at where the planets were in aspect to his chart, regardless of what houses they were in, and knowing exactly where everything is, Mercury retrograde is conjunct his Pluto, his god of death. So interesting that both Ozzy and Malcolm Jamal Warner had planets aligning with Pluto. And then Ozzy, let's see, where was Pluto in alignment in his chart? So Pluto was aligning, the transiting Pluto was aligning with his Chiron. Uranus opposite his Chiron. Saturn and Neptune trine his Chiron. So, and Saturn and Neptune were squaring his Mars and his Jupiter. So, or Saturn and Neptune squaring his Mars and Jupiter. So interesting that in both Malcolm Jamal Warner and Ozzy Osbourne, aspects involving Chiron, the wound, and Pluto, the god of death. So Jupiter was also aligning with Ozzy's Venus in Scorpio, which is the sign of death. Yeah.
There's a sense that I get psychically, and I mean, we could probably apply this to just about anyone's passing, but it's what's coming through. His physical body felt very, very heavy. It almost felt like a boulder or, a huge weight. But then it's like a moment later, the soul leaves the body and it's, complete euphoria is the word I'm hearing. I suspect, just from what I know from news, and I think somebody mentioned it in the chat, that it was getting harder and harder for him towards the end. So I don't think his death comes as such a shock, but it's still sad.
Yeah.
But I can feel the heaviness as I'm in his energy, that what was happening beforehand. There have been some folks in the live chat asking about whether or not the rumor of assisted suicide is true. I hadn't heard that, and I haven't been on the TV or the news really today. So it could match what I get of like the extreme heaviness and then pop like euphoria. But that also could just be his soul leaving his body, Is there anything that you can see in the chart that may indicate somebody wanting to exit out on their own terms?
I mean, that's an interesting question. And I mean, his Mars, which is the planetary ruler of Scorpio, was in Capricorn, conjunct Jupiter. Both were aligning with his North Node in Taurus, which were also all aligning with his Saturn in Virgo. So you've got, in his birth chart, you've got Mars and Jupiter in Capricorn, Saturn in Virgo, and the North Node in Taurus, all aligning with each other. And those are the three earth signs. Earth is about control, and so, and that was part of his soul's experience, was to learn to really kind of soak up everything that the material world had to offer. So, maybe even having a planned assisted suicide is kind of in tune with that. in a sense, where it's like controlling your death,
Mm.
controlling your exit. Um, so, I don't know if that's a reach, but you bring up the question. So that's what jumped out to me was you have 3 planets in the North Node in Earth signs, which are all about control, and one's his soul's purpose. So,
Mm.
and if he wasn't doing well and not enjoying life, then yeah, maybe he decided it was time. I mean, he'd been through a lot.
Oh
I mean, you
yeah.
you go back 20 years ago, like they were like the first reality show, the Osbournes and or whatever it was called, but it was a really like that was such a huge show. And man, you just looked at him and you're like, wow, is he okay? It's like those years of drugs and alcohol just really like they beat him down, and that was 20 some years ago. So,
Yeah, because the way his body feels to me towards the end feels immobile. Like I just don't think that he was even moving around like he was on stage a few weeks ago. And I don't even know how he was moving around on the stage, but just looking at him towards the end, I'm just getting like more of a laying still kind of heavy vibration. So,
and that's
yeah.
got to be incredibly difficult for somebody who's a Sagittarius. He was born with the sun and Mercury and Chiron all in Sagittarius. So, any loss of freedom is like, I don't want to do this anymore. And if
Yeah.
he's a Capricorn moon as well, Capricorn rising, he's going to maybe want to control the outcome.
Hmm. Hmm. Fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Well, we send our thoughts and prayers out to their families, both of
Yes.
these
Oh my God.
individuals.
So
Yeah.
much love
Yeah.
for Malcolm Jamal Warner and his family, and for the whole Osborne family. Yes, I send them all of my love.
Same, same. I know folks are doing it in the comments as well. So thank you. Okay. Well, this has been all over the internet and back a few
Wow.
times.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think we have to spend much time on this.
Well, the reason
Um,
why I brought it up was
you're
because
just a Gemini, right? Like it has to be.
I think, yes, that, but it's also, Pluto and Aquarius,
They
where it's
can't
like,
read this. This is the CEO and the head of HR that got caught at the Coldplay Kiss Cam that were having affairs on their spouses. Okay. So you think it's the Pluto Aquarius and the Uranus and Gemini?
yes, because, the Pluto and Aquarius Pluto is the secret planet. It's the lord of the underworld, and it's transiting through Aquarius, which is the sign of coming out of the closet. It's a sign of putting yourself out there. So literally, they had this secret affair, and they were put on blast unexpectedly, of course, with the Uranus piece in Gemini, through technology, putting them up on the big screen, real time. And yeah, they were outed. They were
Mm-hmm.
outed. Their secret affair was outed. And so a secret affair being outed to me says Pluto in Aquarius.
You know what I find fascinating about this before we move on to the next story? On surface level, yeah, you can go down the rabbit holes of all the memes that are out there and all the comedy that people jokes that are being cracked. But what I found really fascinating about this story is that I have had more than one conversation since it's happened with other women about what this story has meant to them and their journey with whether it was their infidelity, whatever it is, and shame and secrets and things that people hide. And it opened up actually for me a lot of deep conversations, which could maybe be that Pluto energy still too with other people. um, so I think it can manifest in a few different ways.
Absolutely. Well, and just to like add to the story, like this CEO wasn't the only high-ranking sort of person they got taken down this week. there's another person who resigned. This was the head of the NFL Players Association, the representative for all the players in the NFL. He resigned his post because it became revealed that he was moonlighting as as an advisor for a very big like these NFL teams are now bought by, they're not bought by a person. They're bought by like an investment group. And so this investment group, this really multi-billion-dollar investment group, had hired the head of the NFL Players Association to advise them on getting into the NFL. And that's like a real conflict of interest, with the fact that, he needs to be representing the players, not outside interests trying to get into the NFL. But the thing that really kind of took it to the underworld was that it came out that he was using this company's money, and I don't know, it was probably, given the okay to, but he was like whining and dining people at strip clubs in Vegas. And so, that's the underworld piece that came to the surface. And I don't know if he's married or what, but like, what you're saying, it brings up a lot. Like what's going on with your husband or your boyfriend, what's going, all that stuff is coming to light.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing any underhanded deals, or if if you are cheating on somebody, or there's a conflict of interest, it's going to come to the surface.
Might as well just come clean.
Exactly.
Don't get it drug out into the wide open spaces by Pluto.
No.
Oh, goodness gracious. Okay. Next up, Alaska Airlines. Oh, Mercury retrograde. Ground stop for all mainline aircraft. This was 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Alaska Airlines has had so many problems.
Yeah.
But we know that Mercury retrograde can cause travel issues, travel delays. So I think this is like the perfect example of that.
Yes, and it was travel. It was not just the reason why they were grounded was because they were having IT tech issues. So of course, this is like the ultimate Mercury retrograde news story, where an airline is grounded because their computers aren't working.
I shouldn't laugh, but like, come on. It's like by the book. By the book. Do you happen to know, Scott, if there was more than one person involved with the NFLPA?
I don't know. I'll have to look. I haven't been following the story too closely, but yeah, I would imagine that the whole NFLPA is under scrutiny. I mean, if the head person is, is coming into question, then you wonder what's going on with the whole organization. And
yeah, we live in a comic strip.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh gosh. All right, let's look at the next one. Area 51 staff left with fatal diseases after guarding top secret project. I just thought this headline was crazy. Is this something having to do with South Node Virgo? Do you think it has any, since it's health related and the past?
That's a good point. It might be, maybe, and it might be the South Node Virgo. And again, like, what is Area 51 known for? It's secrets.
Mm-hmm.
And so like more secrets coming to light with this Pluto in Aquarius.
Area 51. Oh. Okay, this has turned into quite the conversation this week about CBS canceling the Late Show. They said, oh, we're cutting back on money. It has nothing to do with what's his name, the Late Show, Stephen Colbert.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with him. It just has to do with money. But then sounds like there was some kind of lawsuit that had to get paid out on a different matter, I think, that involved Trump, which is clouding the water. And so now there's a bunch of people like hooting and hollering over this cancellation. My psychic sense feels like he's going to end up doing his own
Yeah,
show, which
exactly.
be not to say that like these are the examples to strive for, but you look at people like
Tucker
Tucker
Carlson.
Carlson,
Yeah,
who,
exactly.
left
Chris
Fox News.
Cuomo,
Yes,
like all these
exactly.
guys, like they're like, yeah, get a YouTube channel, get a YouTube channel, Stephen Colbert, and it's like you don't need CBS, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
funny.
So, what do we think about scandal? Would scandal involving a public figure, would that,
I mean,
which
I
one?
think
Yeah.
this is more of Pluto and Aquarius, and it's
Okay.
just kind of tearing everybody down to size, and like he's probably gonna, I imagine, just like you, like he's probably gonna be on YouTube or X, or have his own platform, and everybody who loves him and loves his political commentary is going to gravitate towards him. But if you're somebody like CBS, where it's like when you think about how late night television has really shifted, when Johnny Carson and Dave Letterman were ruling the airwaves at night, like they they made political jokes, but they weren't offensive to people who might have that political preference.
Hmm.
Now it's very different. There's a very pointed, clear messaging going on. And, if you're CBS, you're really kind of alienating maybe some of the group here. And yeah, we just lost a lawsuit, multi-million-dollar lawsuit to Trump. Like this is not really a path that we want to go down. Like I can't really blame CBS for making this decision. I think both of them are probably going to end up in a better situation. Stephen Colbert will get to, speak his mind where he wants to, how he wants to, on YouTube, just do it like anyone else does it. And then CBS will get to, have their own programming in the way that they want it done.
Yes, I'm going to hit the next headline here in a moment. I think it's a good reminder for all of us, though. Sometimes it can feel like that tower moment or the death card in tarot where everything is crashing down. But this could be his Phoenix rising
Yeah.
where he
I,
decides that he's going to do something bigger and better. So endings can oftentimes signal an even better beginning.
yes, this is a
Yeah.
marriage that wasn't going to work anymore. And I can't blame either side.
Yeah.
So
So obviously the Epstein stuff is top of, headlines,
not going away.
and then the lawsuit around the 50th birthday, drawing words. I think I have, oh no, that's something else. Okay, so anyway, we've talked about this at nauseum, I think, over the
Yes.
last several weeks. So this is just going to keep going. I don't think it's going away anytime soon. And I do think there'll be an attempt to have diversions like the
Yes.
MLK files being released this
Yes.
week. I think there's going to be attempts at trying to get people to notice other things, hopefully not anything really horrifying, but yeah, I think there's going to
Mhm.
be other headlines.
Oh yeah, I mean Pluto and Aquarius doing its work. Secrets are
Yeah.
going to continue to come out.
I know you have to jump in a moment. These are just a couple of headlines about foreigners with a prison swap, and then Japanese Americans protest proposal to reopen Dublin prison as an ICE detention center. That actually had an alignment to World War II. We're in energy and astrology that aligns with World War II. Is there
Yes.
anything you want to add to that?
I just say that, this is kind of what we've talked about in the weeks past with Neptune conjunct Saturn. It's a, I feel like when you look back over time with Neptune conjunct Saturn in Aries, or it's like and Uranus too. It's like pushing like nationalism. It's like a rise of nationalism. The Japanese American, protesting this ICE detentions. That's really sad to me. It shows like kind of this is that underbelly that you're talking about. Are we really going to do this again? That's one of the dark moments in American history, is taking these people and putting them into detention centers during World War II.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. There are three, I believe. Yes. You have people, these are all your sports stories. I know you have to run,
Yeah.
but you had people struck by lightning that were killed.
Yeah, that's Uranus in in Gemini, and yeah, Trump, this is the distraction right here. This is the distraction. He knows he's going to ruffle feathers by this, and it will help take people's mind off of Epstein. The whole needing to change Washington back to the Redskins from the Commanders and the Indians from the Guardians. And then, yeah, this was a golfer, just losing his mind. He's been banned from this country club because he destroyed a locker here, because he was unhappy with how things transpired on the golf course. And so, that's more of that Uranus in Gemini aligning with Saturn and Neptune in Aries. So
Whew.
facing
Well,
fears and
yeah,
insecurities. Yes.
you got through the headlines. I know you
Yes.
have to run.
Thank you so much, Dallisa. Thank you to
uh,
everyone in the chat.
theweeklytransit.com.
That's
Scott,
it.
the astrologer podcaster. Go check out the podcast. Subscribe to his channel as well, please.
We'll see you next week, Dallisa.
Sounds good. Thanks, Scott.
You're welcome. Bye.
All right, bye. Yay. Oh my gosh. I know that's rapid fire there towards the end, but to see two people in the sports world being struck by lightning and killed around the same period of time, that's just weird. But yeah, I do agree that there's going to be more and more secrets revealed. I know we talked about that a few times on today's episode, but Spirit showing it to me like the light switch being flipped on. There's just going to be so much that hasn't been seen that will be seen. Now, a reminder, for example, Uranus and Gemini right now is going to end up going retrograde and back into the final degrees of Taurus. And then it's going to go forward again to where we're at now, and it'll then go through the sign of Gemini. Why I bring that up? I think it could feel later this year like we are going backward, quite literally. It could feel like, oh, why are we talking about this again? I can't believe this is coming up again, right? That could be a part of the story of, are we in the twilight zone? What is happening? So it's going to feel, I think, a bit like this dance. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, we may have 4 planets in retrograde now. Anytime we have that number of planets that look like they are going backwards from Earth's perspective, it could feel like a period of time where we are having to cool our jets and sit still and ask the bigger questions and review and reconsider. All the RE words are retrograde words. So if any kind of RE word you can think of, and maybe put it in the chat, those are all words that we are feeling, are going through our system, our energy. So if you're feeling like things have slowed down in your own life, or you feel like, gosh, this decision that I made, I just don't know how I feel about it. I don't know if this was the right choice. I think there'll be a lot of consideration happening right now. So if you are at a job and you're like, gosh, I don't feel like it's the right fit for me anymore, then this is a great period to really sit with that and think about the pros and cons. I think this is going to come up in a lot of relationships as well. What do I do? Is this the relationship that my heart feels most at home with? Or do I feel like it's time to activate some of that Leo energy and speak from the heart and be bold and be courageous about what my needs are? So it could be coming up for you in a few different ways. Generally speaking, astrologers will tell you, don't make huge life-altering decisions during a retrograde period. Because once we get out of the retrograde energy, you might think that the decision you made during retrograde could have been a mistake. So I would say pump the brakes, take your time. Don't feel pressured to make any kind of decision, especially big decisions. If you absolutely have to sign a contract, I would read it multiple times. I would have some other people read it, because contracts that you go under during a Mercury retrograde can come back to bite you, or you could have missed something in the contract when you signed it, and then later on it comes back as a clause that becomes important to things that are unfolding. So I would just say, as long as you are taking things slowly and you are really considering all avenues, all viewpoints, we can't stop living. There's retrogrades that happen really frequently. So it's more just about navigating your way through it the best you can. But I just wouldn't be making huge, rash decisions right now. But great time for journaling. Great time to leaning into some like journaling prompts. Yeah, good for all that energy. Yeah. I love all the comments. The chat's been very, very active today. If you haven't yet given the video a thumbs up or hit that subscribe button, hit subscribe and give it a thumbs up. It lets YouTube know that the content is good, so then they show it to more people. I would appreciate it. Regret, review, rewind. Yes. Food recalls. Oh, you know what? Recall would be a Mercury retrograde word. Yeah, I never thought about that. Yes. Redo, rethink. Yes, yes. Oh, morning pages. Okay. It's part of a book called The Artist's Way. The Artist's Way. They tell you in the book to get 3 blank pages, and every morning you write whatever you want to write until all 3 pages are filled. And that can sound a bit intimidating at first. Like, oh, I have 3 blank pages. Like, what am I going to write here? It is the most freeing, liberating thing you can do, because you will start pouring things out of you. Because you're like, I got to fill these 3 pages or else I can't walk away. So I think that it's a beautiful thing to do. And if you've been feeling like you want to tap more into your own power and purpose, The Artist's Way is a great book. It's more of a program, meaning that The Artist's Way walks you through what to do and different activities and exercises. So if you've been looking for something to dive into that's in the self-help arena to really help you feel more liberated in your own life, I would get the book The Artist's Way and try morning pages. Okay. Morning pages is so good. Reemploy. Yes. And with this new moon energy, I would utilize that to manifest the re-employment. Rearrange. Ooh, I like that one. Yes. Remember. How many of you have been having dreams about things that you did in the past? I've just noticed it like during the day. I'll just have a random memory come over me. That is absolutely Mercury retrograde. Oh my gosh. Reconsider those Coldplay tickets. Oh, Tim. Oh gosh. That is funny. Yeah, I wonder if Coldplay has sold more tickets to their concerts. I bet. Hey, news is news. It got them some PR. Ooh, reorganize. Yes. Results. Retire. Yeah, why don't we all just retire? Let's just do that real quick. All right. I saw some of your notes earlier about Scott being in the portal. I have this show usually going on my phone. So in case I have to get in the comment section for whatever reason, and I can make sure that the show is showing up on YouTube. And I did see his face pixelated at one point. So it could just be, well, Mercury retrograde. We're just going to call it Mercury retrograde. Okay. Reminiscence. Yes. No way. That can't be true. Coldplay has a side piece section in their shows now. That cannot be true. Please tell me that's not true. Please tell me. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's see here. A couple of things. I will be teaching a guided meditation and energy clearing class today. And so if you are a Sacred Signals member, don't forget, we're doing that. Let me pull up what time it is, because my brain just forgot. It might be 5:30. Let me see. 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, I've got it all channeled. I'm going to be working with the archangels. So if you feel like you need an energy clearing and reset, make sure you come to that. So if you are a Sacred Signals member, you can get the link off of yesterday's email that you got, or it's in the Discord app. If you are not in Sacred Signals yet, now's a great time to join us. You can go to spiritandspark.com and click on Sacred Signals in the menu. You can do it month by month, cancel anytime, or you can save money and do the annual. But we're going to have a good time with this energy. Woo! We are going to clear some gunk out tonight. So again, that's going to start at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. I'd love to have you there. It would mean a lot to me. I know I've talked about this the last 2 weeks, but remember, if you are expecting an email from me and you don't have it, please check your spam folder. I would appreciate it. We have 100 and something people enrolled for this, and it's coming up soon. So if you've been putting it off and you want to attend the gathering, the class on the other side, which is where we're going to talk about what happens when we pass away, where do we go, what are our loved ones doing? There's been a ton of really great questions submitted, so I'm going to be going through those questions. Some people have shared some incredible stories of things that have happened to them around the other side and signs that they've received. And so it's going to be just a really beautiful experience with sharing what I've learned in the last decade of doing this work. And thanks to everybody who sent in questions. It's going to be a great time. And it's by donation, literally. The class is valued at $35, but I have people donating everything from $1 to $50. It's just whatever you want to give. And I don't look at how much you gave. So it's really just come join us. I love these classes. It's our monthly community class. It is on the website now, spiritandspark.com, and that's going to be under classes. So come and join us. If you can't come live on July 30th, your enrollment, your donation gets you the full replay. So then you can watch it whenever you want, as many times as you want. So, all right. I think I got through all of my things. Yes. Okay. We got to do our jar. Let me put my email address. Oh, and thank you for complimenting me on my shirt. I appreciate it. And here goes my bauble into the jar. So if I pull your YouTube screen name out of the jar, you will win the 12-month personalized tarot card report. You have until 11:59 p.m. Pacific time tonight, which is July 22nd, 2025. If you are the lucky winner, to send me that email. And I would love to shuffle my cards and put together a report for you if you are the winner. And thanks to everybody who's given it the thumbs up and click subscribe on the channel, and for everybody that watched live and everybody that's going to enjoy the replay. Okay. Oh, how funny. Yeah, the gold dots. The gold dots are going into the jar on my back wall. That's really funny. Yeah, and I'd been drinking electrolytes out of a mason jar, and I thought, oh, that looks like the jar. It wasn't really planned, but I just happen to drink stuff usually out of mason jars. I don't know why. Beautiful. Okay, so let's do this. He's not here to help me with the drum rolls, so you have to do it on your end. Okay, here we go. Today's winner is Alina N. Alina N. You have until tonight to email me, Dallisa@spiritandspark.com. Claim your 12-month personalized tarot report. Thanks again to everybody who joined me and Scott for this week's episode. We will be back again next week, and who knows what the heck is going to happen in the world. We're just going to keep our vibration high. We're going to manifest with this new moon this week. Go set your intentions, and let's utilize this new moon energy to really call forward what it is we want in our life. Don't waste this energy. All right. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Got to do the drum roll. It helps. It's good energy. All right, beautiful. Enjoy the rest of your day. And I'll see some of you over there in that Archangel channeled energy clearing and meditation at 5 p.m. Pacific. All right, see you there. Bye.